This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
a hop
shank.
off the path. You got to be kidding me.
Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome to the Sub 70 podcast a two-time PGA Tour winner, played over 600 events on the PGA Tour. That's one hell of a long career out there. Friend of Sub 70 Golf, Tommy Armour III. TA, thanks for doing this today. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, Jason.
Well, let's talk CJ Cup at the Summit. It's a club almost kind of you like Golf Pro Emeritus out there where you work with Discovery Land Properties. And, so I know you had some duties out there that week and stuff. So how did the club and the PGA Tour come about having this event? And what was sort of your role out there this week, or I should say last week?
Well, Colin Morikawa's agent kind of came to us and said, would you guys consider this? And we said, yeah. And it was about, 8 weeks before the tournament. And Mike Abbott's the president out there, and he said, yeah, we can do this. And I went to Mike Melman, and Mike Melman at first said, I don't think so. And then he thought about it for a second. He said, yeah, let's do it. And it came about, and, it was 78 players, so it wasn't like you had a full field event, which made it a little easier to navigate. And, plus you had the best players in the world, which made it more appealing. And CJ is really a nice company from, Korea. And, a lot of things lined up well, and we really had a great event. My duties out there was, I kind of hung out with Mike Melman and showed him around the golf course, and, just went around asking the players how they're doing, how you liking it, just kind of being on the property and just kind of hanging out with them. And it was really a nice week.
When it's that short of a period of time to get ready for a tour event, did the club have to change the course up a little bit to get it faster and firmer? Or is there anything that you suggested or working with the PGA Tour that they sort of wanted that might not be there on a normal basis for the members? Is there any changes from that standpoint?
No, they kind of kept it. It didn't get too out of control. I mean, they kept it pretty. We wanted to get it a little faster, a little quicker, but they kept it right around 12, and it was a good week. I mean, I figured the winning score would be, I said, about 23 to 26 under, and it was 25. So, but I mean, when you get the best players in the world out there, and the thing about the best players in the world, if the ball doesn't roll far from where it lands, they're going to shoot pretty low. Once the ball starts rolling from where it lands, then the scores aren't quite as low. And, the course was just coming out of an overseed, and it wasn't rolling too far from where it landed. So
they're going to go low. Yeah, Keith Mitchell, the first 2 days, that surprised me he went that low out of the gate. Not that he's not capable, but, I thought, Jesus, someone going to shoot 30 under. And then golf course looks like green speed got up a little bit. Over the weekend, definitely played a little bit tougher. I mean, there were some low rounds out there, but they didn't go quite as low on a consistent basis. So I thought the course looked great on television. I thought it presented itself really, really well out there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful course and beautiful property. And TV just showed really what it was.
Yeah, and like I said, there were some low rounds, but if you got off a little bit too, there were some guys shooting even par, 1 under, 1 over. So it wasn't, by the weekend or Sunday, it certainly wasn't a pushover, that's for sure.
No, it's a 7,500 yard golf course. That's, a little altitude there. I mean, you're right at about 3,000 feet. So, that's up there and the ball will cruise.
I'm going to talk to you about Ricky Fowler a little bit. I know you played some golf. You're friends with him. Nice to see his resurgence. Anything, from that you could share talking to him, or things that you watched this week that kind of gave you a glimpse of why he might be playing a little bit better? Because it just looked like, looked great to me. His golf swing looked aggressive. Looks like he's not trying to work on getting his upright as he normally kind of has been. That was my interpretation of it. But it looked like he was kind of swinging it like Ricky Fowler should swing it. So good to see him playing again, at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, his swing looked pretty good to me. I watched him hit balls, early in the week and kind of monitored him a little bit, just as far as just watching him on the range every day. And, he seemed like he was pretty good. I saw him Tuesday night for a minute at Melman's house, and he seemed pretty good. And Melman and I walked with him Sunday. The last, we started out. We walked a few holes, walked the first 6, then took a break, and then caught him on 10, and walked the back 9 with him. And he looked like he was confident. He hit a lot of good shots. He kept the ball in play, and on the most part, he had a pretty good week. And he couldn't be a nicer guy, so I was happy for him.
Yeah, it looked like, I noticed too, he had some real pop in the bat again, driving distance wise. He was killing it. He was keeping it up there a lot of times pretty close with Rory, with the driver at least, way past Abraham Answer. So to me, his golf swing looked good. It looked aggressive.
Don't get confused. He wasn't. There's a little gap between Rory and Ricky. There's a few holes. There's a few holes that he popped it out there pretty. Rory did. On the third hole of the day, Rory hit his tee shot, a par 5, and he was about 50 yards in front of Ricky and about 70 in front of Answer.
Well, yeah, he's got, the ones I saw, maybe he was kind of throttling it back a little bit, and Ricky was hitting it. Obviously, he's got that next gear, but Fowler looked like he had, like I said, looked like he was. It looked good. It just looked like the swing was aggressive.
It looked good. In 17, he drove it in the fairway bunker and hit a really nice iron out there about 10 feet and missed it, but still he had a good week. He unfortunately three-putted the last hole to finish tied for third instead of third solo, but hey,
step in the right direction.
You'd have told. Yeah, I think if you'd have told Ricky, we'll give you third place this week at the start of the week, I think he would have said, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I agree, especially after the last year and a half he's had. Let's talk Rory. When he is on, it's just effortless, right? That sequence of that swing, and then if he gets the putter or the wedges going, just a little bit, the ball striking is so good. 20 wins on the PGA Tour. Obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but you've seen them all, right? You've seen from Nicklaus to the newest generation. You've been out there that long. Your assessment of what you saw out of Rory, that week, and obviously it's great, but what's the little things that you see with him that you just love about his golf game?
McIlroy, the further you get away from the hole, the better McIlroy is. Just statistically speaking over his career, that's kind of. And, he drives it so well. He's one of the best drivers of a golf ball. He just hits it long and straight, He's one of those guys that's one of those gifted guys that hits it long and straight. And, and he's a good player. He just gets it done. 20 wins says, that's 20 wins. He's not done yet. So we'll see what, it's been about 8 years since he's won a major, but majors aren't that easy to win.
Yeah, it's hard to just get a win. Period, right? Just how hard it is to win on the PGA Tour, let alone a major. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's winning on the PGA Tour is not the easiest thing in the bag.
I wonder too how I think he was pretty motivated after the Ryder Cup. Of that kind of a blowout, and none of those guys seem to have a great week. I wonder how much of that kind of played into it too, with a little kick in the ass of this is not going to. I'm not ending my year on that. I wonder if some way it's a motivator.
I would assume so. I mean, you'd have to. I mean, you'd like to think so. I mean, and I would assume so. And I saw him a few times, talked to him a few times during the week. I had Keith Sabarbaro staying here. He's at my house for the week. Who's runs TailorMade Worldwide and all that for the guys. And he always talked highly of Rory. And I actually played with Rory his first PGA Tour event that he played in the United States. We were paired together at the Hilton Head.
Really?
And yeah, and yeah, you could tell he was going to be a pretty good player then.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, he just oozes with talent. Also, I was going to ask, he's generational good. I was going to ask you too. A lot of the guys, talk about going to see, Butch when they're out there, and they talk about the frat house they had going over there, and when they're in town to go see him. I assume, just over the years, you've gotten to know Butch fairly well. What do you think? He seems to have such a great relationship with all of these players, and all those players seem to swing a little bit different. He doesn't kind of have a system. It's just he seems to get the most out of guys. And what do you think that thing is that Butch has, or that gift to kind of be able to take all these different swings and personalities and seem to get performance or the best out of those players?
I think he just gives them, instills confidence in them. I mean, I don't think it's any more or less than that. He just gives them a little confidence, and he slaps them on the ass and gives them maybe one nice thought to think about during their swing, and they just go out and play good.
So it's just more, it's just kind of old school coaching. We're not going to tweak a whole lot. It's just a little bit here, a little bit there. And then he's half a psychologist.
Your golf swing, your golf swing got you to this point, so let's just make it better. When I say make it better, think better with it.
Yeah, he seems. I saw the comment he put out about, which I thought was interesting, and I think you're probably onto it, where he said Ricky Fowler came and saw him, and they worked on nothing. He was swinging that well at it, and put that out in the media. And I was thinking, I wonder if that's just sort of reinforcing to Ricky that I believe you're swinging great. You don't need to do anything. I mean, put that out in the public to say how well you're playing or how good it looks right now. Just as a confidence booster to Ricky for what he's been through the last year and a half, right? To have Butch go out there and say that, that would make me feel pretty good.
But that's what he does. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, basically. I didn't even see that or anything, but yeah.
And that's before the week started. He said he's playing great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's he's done something
that's
right.
That's what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has done something right. I mean, he's worked with the best, and he's made them play their best.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing in the off season here. The Champions Tour season is going to be kind of winding down. Anything you're going to be working on off season? Little of this, little of that, tweak this, tweak that, try to get ready for next year. Anything coming up from that standpoint?
As far as my golf swing?
Yeah, so golf game, anything you're working on?
No, just playing golf, enjoying it. But it's going to change my workouts a teeny bit, but just try and get a little stronger for the season coming up. That's about it. But I mean, getting a little bit stronger is just for basically just for me, for living and living better.
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily have to do with my golf. Just that's it.
I think also too, you've had an interesting career in the sense of golf equipment, which I love golf equipment, but starting off your professional career, you're playing a ball that spun like crazy. I'm assuming you had a little wooden driver, probably, or a very early metal driver. And by the time you were still on the PGA Tour at 50, you had basically today's modern equipment, where it was ball didn't spin as much, driver had essentially the modern stuff that it had even 10 years ago, was still there 10 years ago today, more of that modern game. Did you have to change or adapt anything in your game as that equipment changed so much from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s to, the 2010s, we were still on PGA Tour. Like most guys who started off in 1951 to 1975, it didn't change as much as what you had to deal with. I always think it's a fascinating thing from guys of your generation of there was a lot, and then you made it successfully work from all those generations, staying exempt on the PGA Tour as long as you did. How did you navigate that, or did you not have to navigate it? Could you just adapt pretty quick?
I don't really think I had to navigate. I just, worked with the equipment and just used the best equipment of that year, I wouldn't say that really I had to really adapt that much.
Golf ball changed?
Not
Not really.
When the Pro V was introduced, that changed kind of golf,
Yeah.
When we went to using a range ball.
That had enough spin to make it work, right? Yeah, two, solid piece
Yeah,
of board.
that's basically what Pro Vs are. They're old range balls, they're solid balls, and you rip them, and they last forever.
Yeah, it's there was a lot of, like I said, the game kind of changed, and like I said, that period of time where you played on the PGA Tour, the equipment never moved faster in that 20-year period, right, between the ball and the equipment of, especially like fairway woods and drivers, of how much more pop. Because I'm guessing you're longer now than you were, in the late 80s, early 90s on the PGA Tour even. I'm guessing the golf ball goes farther.
Not really. I don't think I'm, longer now than then. I'm 62 years old. I still hit it a pretty good distance, but I was longer, in the 80s than I was now.
Even with the old equipment,
but
really?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, well, yeah. You always hear the thing. The guys are, how much the equipment's changed. I'm longer now than I was 20 years ago. Sort of scenario. But in the same token, in the early 80s, you probably moved.
We're not longer because every driver you get, I'm 10 yards. I hit it 10 yards longer. Well, if you did that, you'd be hitting 500 yards.
Right. I just always thought that from the old Bellata ball and a persimmon driver, even on back in the day, to average 280 on tour in 1989 was about it, right? But I'm guessing you guys were hitting it still 300 yards back then if you popped one pretty good.
Of course.
Yeah, even with the old equipment.
I don't know if you've watched any old films of Jack Nicklaus hitting the ball. He moved it. His rookie year on tour, he won the long drive contest at the PGA at Dallas Country Club, and I think he hit it like 322 or something.
Yeah.
There's guys that hit it long then, and there's guys that hit it long now. There's just more guys that hit it long now. If you go on the range, like I was last week, there's some big dudes out there ripping the ball.
Oh, 1,000%. But don't you think the equipment allows for that harder swing, meaning that there is more margin of error than there used to be from that old equipment of hitting it in the center?
No, guys were hitting. They were hitting wood drivers hard. Back in the day when I won the Phoenix Open with a wood driver in 1990. I was ripping at that. We were using the best equipment in 1990, and in 2021 they're using the best equipment you can get. So it's not. I don't really think it's that big of an adjustment. It's just you adjust your game to the equipment that you're using. I don't really think it's I think the ball curves a little bit less, but it still curves. You can still curve the ball, and and the heads are obviously way bigger now than they used to be. So that give you a little, like tennis rackets. Tennis rackets are bigger now than what McEnroe used in the 80s.
Correct.
So so it's just mitts are bigger in the baseball. To catch it easier. It's just evolution of sports.
TA, when you turned professional, what prompted you to go over to Europe and play?
I turned pro in 1981 and went to a tour school and made it, and played on the PGA Tour my first year in 1982. And I didn't keep my card, and then I went to the tour school, and I missed by 2 shots on the last in the finals. So then that was my options. That was because there wasn't really any Corn Ferry Tour or anything like that to really go to. So Asia and Europe was where the best alternative. I went to Asia and played all right there, and then I went to Europe, qualified for the British Open, made it, cut, and played good the next tournament, got into the next one, played 3 tournaments in a row over there, and made enough money to be exempt for the European Tour, so I played that. That next year, that tour school, that next year, I missed by a couple of shots, and at the finals, and so then I went back to Europe, played Asia and Europe, and then the following year I made the tour and basically played the tour, the PGA Tour, the rest of my life, or the rest of my career.
Yeah, do you think having that experience in Europe though turned out to be a good thing in the end, sort of like the Brooks Koepka idea? He did it by design, but having that experience in Europe, kind of cutting your teeth in that little bit. Koepka. What wasn't that kind of his? But that was his easiest path, I think, right at that point in time to say, okay, I can play over there and I can get in the world rankings, get high enough to go back to the PGA Tour. He sort of, I mean, I think it was somewhat calculated, wasn't it? Of like, we're going to take that pathway to get me there. Do you like the idea of the young players going over there if they have the opportunity to do it?
I think that all depends on the individual.
Do you think that's a great?
Some guys can do that and some guys can't. I mean, some guys are comfortable doing it, some aren't. Because it's a lot. You just go over there. You basically pack up for 4 months and go over there. So not a lot of guys are built for that, and some guys are built for that. It depends on your family situation and your life situation. So, is it the best way? It's certainly a good way. I don't know if it's. The Corn Ferry is obviously a good way to get on the tour too.
I always still think it would be interesting for Q School if they gave a few, because now there's Q School just gets you to Corn Ferry. I always thought it would be cool if they still had a few spots where if you win it or something, or top 3, still get PGA Tour. Like it'd be. I still love the old days where the guy, Rich Beams or whatever of the world, would come out of nowhere and get a card. And yes, I understand why they changed it, because those guys, for the most part, never could keep their card, and they wanted that experience of Corn Ferry before you get out to the big show. But
why they did
I always liked the Cinderella story.
I think they did it to legitimize the Corn Ferry Tour, to make it a real tour, because without that, I think it was kind of it doesn't make the Corn Ferry mean as much, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. So you think it was more or less of trying to get really good players to play a full season on that tour, to just more or less legitimize it versus like I said, getting a heater for 3 tournaments, and you're on the PGA Tour, and it's tough for guys going from stage 1 to getting their card and keeping it. But you think it's more or less from just making that a better
little
tour.
Bit more ready for when they do get on the tour, and you earn it over a year as opposed to a week. Well, not necessarily a week, 3 qualifying weeks, like you said, but. Yes, it's not that easy, but it's a challenge. I had to do it a few times, and it's a different mindset.
Oh, yeah.
There's
I
some
mean,
guys that are
I know some guys that
professional.
are out there
There's
and
some guys that are
finishing
professional
51st on the
qualifiers.
money list.
They're really good at qualifying, and they just don't keep their card really.
Yeah. But it's a grind, right? I mean, like I said, if you're 50th on the money list out there, by the time you pay expenses,
It's not
caddy,
supposed to be a lifestyle.
anything.
It's
Like
supposed
it is.
to be
It can be
a porthole to the PGA Tour. They really don't. Yeah.
like a make or break, right? They don't want you out there for 8 years doing it in theory. Yeah, I guess that makes sense as well, right? Where it's designed for either the talent gets through or the talent doesn't. I guess it's gonna shift you out one way or the other. I mean, I know some guys have played it for, there are guys who have played it for years.
They go and they finish in the top
doable,
25, and then they get out on the PGA Tour, and then they don't quite make it on the PGA Tour, and then they go back to the Korn Ferry Tour for a year, and it's an every other year kind of thing. But they're good players, but they just, for some reason, they just, when they get on the regular tour, they just don't quite play good enough. It's not easy.
You think that's? Yeah. What do you think that is? Because they obviously can play. You think it's just? Is it? It's just a tad, right?
It's a thin line.
The line between, it's a thin line, right? Of keeping, even keeping your card and not keeping your card. A little injury here, like it's such a fine line. And then, half of it's probably mental too, right? You get out there and maybe your mindset changes a little bit, and you're a little bit timid. You know what I mean? Like it's because I always say if you watch the guys hit the of being able to do it and versus
just a little bit of that,
not being able to do it, but. Interesting perspective on it. Well, I was going to ask you too, like of all those young players too, is there any other guys that, as a golf fan, that you really enjoy watching play? And because I know you love golf and you'll actually watch golf and do all that stuff, even like we do. So, is there any other young players that up and comers right now, or even guys who have sort of quote unquote made it that you really enjoy watching?
I don't know about
got to know a little bit.
I think that Sam Burns looks like he's going to be a pretty good player. Really good player. Wolf looks like he's going to be a really good player. And Morikawa is obviously a good player. Not going to be, Wolf, all the guys I said are already good players, but they look like they're going to be, have some shelf time.
Morikawa, I love that golf swing. It's just, it doesn't look like there's much to ever go wrong. Just rotates, kind of hits the little baby fade. It's just, in my head, that's what my golf swing should look like, of just beautiful body rotation. It just, club falls in the slot. Pressure's not going to get to it. It's just, what a beautiful way to be able to play golf. And it seems like the moment doesn't bother that kid at all. He's fine with it.
I think he's pretty stable, on and off the court. He does.
Does he play out at Summit Club quite a bit?
He kind of spends a couple hours practices and stuff, and works out there, and he stays pretty steady. He's a pro. He's a nice young man too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he'd be a good guy.
Yeah.
You just sort of get that sense from the way he's interviewed and stuff.
Yeah, he's solid. He's always nice
person.
to all the members out there, and he's got a little time for, most anybody if he sees you. And, he's just one of those good humans. We're not going to talk about our club.
TAIII, I appreciate the insights. It's always...
I think we should.
Well, I don't normally. I mean, we can. I don't normally like when I do the pod. I don't like to brag up our own stuff. I'm usually here to make the. Well, my goal is to make the people that come on look good and have a fun conversation. But yeah, I mean, we can. It's been. I mean, for me personally, it's been such a cool like I'm humbled we've gotten to work on this together and get to do this and see this thing come about and get the feedback we've gotten on it. But, I normally, like, it's not in my personality where I'm like, oh, we're out of us. Like,
yeah, it is cool. I
really
mean, I
cool.
think
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we've done with it.
Quite frankly, everybody that hits them loves them, and they're for real.
Yeah, and it's obviously you're playing them, but to see like Wes Short on the Champions Tour playing it, and Zach Fisher's got him in he's in stage 2 and Q School, and he's playing them. Lee McCoy reached out to us to build a set, and
with them.
We're Yeah.
Okay, second. Okay.
Second, he got second. Yeah, he was in the lead, and just sort of shot 68 and cruised it in to get to the next portion of it. But yeah, exactly. But no, it's been. I mean, first off, to get it off the ground and then to see the feedback loop, and the most satisfying thing for me is to get that feedback loop where somebody says, these are, like when I got the call this week from Lee McCoy that we built for him, and he was like, they're instantly going in the bag. Tell Tommy, great job on the irons. I love him. And he's a good young player, kind of on the comeback after the wrist injury, and that's the coolest thing for me of hearing it from a player of that level, that they really enjoy the clubs and they really work well, and to have clubs for the best players in the world tell you that you're doing a good job and they're putting them in the bag. It's fun. That's fun. Like, I'm living my dream from that standpoint. And yeah, we got and then I'm looking forward to working on the wedge with you and stuff. So we've got a nice little thing going, but like I normally don't talk about me.
It's not you.
I don't know,
You're
humbled by it,
us.
and I just kind of keep my head down and do my thing. Yeah. I know the stuff that we've done, and it's like I said, for me too. You're one of my heroes growing up, and then to have the opportunity to work with you and do this stuff together it's been fun. Become friends, and to do this has been really, really special and cool, and I appreciate everything. I really do. So yeah, it's more to come, but I would say, like, for the guys on tour, the iron we worked on together and it has been the one that we're getting the most guys put that one in the bag, and that's the one that stays.
Well, you've made the whole process easy as
getting
well.
What that player wants.
It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna we're gonna keep bouncing ideas off, and this is just the start of it. Of what we can
coming here in a minute. Hey, let's see.
Yeah, that's going to be like our the best of the best, like the quality of the stuff. I'm looking forward to of having something out there that we can provide a really fair price, and the level of quality will be, the absolute best of the best. And that's the part that's fun too. It's always tough. It's fun to build Ferraris and Aston Martins, right? When you're doing stuff that it's at the high end of it. It's always fun when there's no rules and you just make it as good as you can.
And that's what we're doing, and I think we can pretty much end the podcast on that.
Perfect. I appreciate your time. I'll be reaching out for other insights, but thanks for doing this. Stay well, and
you got it. Thanks.
We'll see you in December when we're out in Vegas.